guys, today we're gonna look at two very similar lenses, the 7Artisans versus the Sony 50mm F1.8. Both are autofocus lenses designed for full-frame cameras, and both have the same focal length and the same aperture, so it could be difficult to choose between the two. In this video, we'll look at some side-by-side comparisons, and hopefully at the end of the video, you can decide which one is more suitable for you. By the way, if you haven't watched the complete lens review of 7Artisans 50mm F1.8, please do so before you watch this one. The most noticeable difference between these two lenses is their size and weight, which could be a deal breaker for many people. The 7Artisans lens is 4 cm longer and 233 grams heavier than the Sony lens. But to be fair, the 7Artisans lens feels more solid and offers additional features such as an AF/MF switch, aperture and focus rings, as well as a port for firmware updates, while the Sony lens is more straightforward, featuring only the focus ring. For the sharpness comparison, we will examine 3 images taken under good lighting conditions and 2 in low light environment. In the first set of photos, I found the 7Artisans image to be slightly sharper. However, in the second and the third images, I can't see any noticeable difference, even when zoomed in at 200%. At ISO 2500, the Sony photo appears better, but at ISO 6400, the 7Artisans photo looks better. Overall, both lenses perform quite well in terms of sharpness. Most of the time when viewing the images individually without a side-by-side comparison, you wouldn't notice any difference. According to the lens official website, the Sony lens has the minimum focus distance at 45 cm and the 7Artisans at 50 cm. It's not a big difference, but I found that when taking close-up shots, the Sony lens has better autofocus. It just stays where I want, while the 7Artisans keeps hunting and moving around. As for the size and shape of bokeh, when I turn on manual focus and focus as close as I can get, the Sony lens does produce bigger bokeh balls. The shape is similar though. Another thing is, I'm not quite sure about it, but after taking a closer look, I guess the image from Sony has got busier background. It seems the bokeh balls have sharper edges. But again, I'm not sure about it, so feel free to leave a comment and share your opinion with me. For autofocus test, I conducted one in bright daylight and the other in low light. From both tests, the Sony lens has more responsive autofocus. You can see as I move the camera to focus at different distance, every time the Sony lens reacts very quickly, while the 7Artisans seems to be reacting gradually, and it doesn't detect the subject from time to time. But here's another factor that might impact your decision making. Let me demonstrate the sound produced when the lenses are focusing. If you are primarily taking photos, then the focusing noise might not be a significant concern. But for shooting videos in quiet environment, the Sony lens may not be ideal. And another thing is, The Sony lens will change the size slightly during focusing. This issue doesn't occur with the 7Artisans lens. Both lenses have quite some focus breathing issue, but if I use manual focus and turn the focus ring gradually, I think you can barely notice it. Now, setting aside autofocus, another interesting thing I found is that the Sony lens seems to have better stabilization capacity, even though neither of the lenses have OSS. I used standard steady shot on all these footages, but you can see every time I move the camera, the 7Artisans footages are pretty shaky. I think maybe it's because Sony native lenses have better compatibility with the IBIS on the camera. When shooting wide open against bright light, I noticed that the Sony lens exhibits pretty serious purple fringing. In contrast, the 7Artisans lens handles this issue quite well. You may still see some fringing, but overall it's decent. At f4 and above, both lenses have great performance. Both of them show some flaring when shooting wide open, and after stopping down to f8, you can still see some of it on both lenses. So here are some of the most important deciding factors, in my opinion, when choosing between these two lenses. At the time of making this video, the 7Artisans lens is still not available in areas outside of China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, so I can't provide you with the exact price, but I'm pretty sure it's not gonna break the bank. The Sony lens is also very affordable, priced at $199 US. Personally, considering that there is no obvious difference in terms of image quality, I still think of portability as the biggest concern, so I'd probably go for the Sony lens. But I would love to hear what you guys think about it. Leave a comment below to share with me which lens you think is more ideal. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.